All right, so get this. Today we're diving into the world of medical tourism.
Oh, yeah, medical tourism.
It's kind of like, but picture this. You need a procedure,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
But the wait back home is like longer than a flight to, say, South Korea. And over there, they could do it like next week.
Wow.
And maybe for way, way less money.
That's pretty tempting.
That's the whole idea of medical tourism, right? And it's not just for, like nips and tucks anymore. It's the real deal.
It's interesting you say that because it's pretty amazing the stuff people are traveling for these days. We're talking like serious surgeries, specialized therapy.
Yeah, it's not just a quick trip.
No, not at all. Stuff you wouldn't think you'd be packing a suitcase for.
Exactly. So why is everyone suddenly jumping on this medical tourism bandwagon?
Right.
Well, our sources break it down into 5 main reasons. And honestly, some of them are pretty surprising.
Okay, I'm curious.
All right, so first up, cost savings. I mean, that's often the big attention grabber, right?
Yeah, for sure. Makes sense.
Let's say, hypothetically, you need a hip replacement.
Oh, okay.
In the U.S., you're looking at, what, maybe $50,000?
Oof, that's a lot.
But in India, potentially $10,000.
Wow, it's a huge difference.
I mean, suddenly that plane ticket seems pretty insignificant.
Yeah, you're practically making money at that point.
Right. But here's the thing. A bargain is only good if you're actually getting quality care.
Absolutely.
I mean, surgery in a foreign country, that's a big leap of faith.
It's a big decision, no doubt.
So how do you know you're not compromising your health for a lower price tag?
Right. Well, that's a totally valid concern, but the sources highlight places like Singapore and Turkey.
Okay, yeah.
Their healthcare is top-notch, often even exceeding international standards. You're talking cutting-edge tech, highly trained professionals, the whole 9 yards.
So it's not just about saving money. It's about finding that sweet spot of top-tier care that's also faster and more affordable.
Exactly.
I mean, it almost sounds too good to be true.
Well, yeah, there are nuances, of course, like with anything.
Sure.
But think about it this way. You need a specific procedure, right? Back home, you're looking at a year-long wait list.
Ugh, I hate waiting.
Right. But in some of these medical tourism hotspots, you could be in surgery within weeks.
Wow, that's incredible.
Right. For someone dealing with chronic pain or, any condition that's impacting their life, that kind of speed can be life-changing.
Oh, absolutely.
It's about taking control of your health timeline. And then there's also the fact that certain countries have really developed these specializations.
That's right, yeah.
Like Thailand, for example, is known for cosmetic surgery. India is known for cardiology. It's about finding the best fit for your needs globally.
It's almost like, you wouldn't go to a burger joint for sushi.
Yeah.
You got to find the right specialist for the job.
Exactly. Plus, there's the whole recovery with a view thing. Imagine, recuperating from surgery on a beach in Costa Rica versus, staring at your apartment ceiling.
Okay, yeah, that is pretty tempting. But let's be realistic. Even planning a regular vacation can be a headache.
Oh, yeah.
How do you even begin to tackle a medical tourism trip? It seems pretty daunting.
Well, you know what they say. Research is your passport.
Literally and figuratively.
Exactly. The source really stresses this, finding accredited hospitals, real patient reviews. Forget the glossy brochures. You gotta dig deep.
So this isn't like picking a hotel based on some pretty pictures.
No, not at all. The stakes are much higher here.
Right.
And before you even book that flight, talk to your doctor back home.
Good point.
They might have insights, potential risks to consider, maybe even contacts in the country you're going to.
So it's like having a medical travel agent who actually knows your history.
Yeah, exactly.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, so once you've done your research, you've got the doctors okay.
Yeah.
What's next?
Credentials.
Okay, that's important.
Just like you wouldn't go to a dentist with shaky hands, right?
Right.
You want to look for hospitals with international certifications like JCI or ISQA.
I've heard of those.
They're like quality stamps, making sure the facility meets those global standards.
So it's all about trust, but verified.
Absolutely.
All right, but let's talk about the elephant in the room, the financial side of things.
Right.
How do you make sure there are no hidden costs? No surprises popping up later on.
Transparency is key. Get detailed quotes from the hospital covering everything. Procedure, doctor's fees, medications, post-op care.
Okay.
And don't forget those extra costs, travel, accommodations, and potentially even follow-up care back home.
Right, so it's not just the surgery price tag. It's that entire journey pre-op to full recovery.
Exactly. Medical tourism is a process, not a quick fix.
That's a good way to put it.
Speaking of process, don't forget the logistical stuff. Flights, visas, where you're going to stay. Some hospitals even offer these packages.
Oh, package deals. That's interesting.
Yeah, it can definitely simplify things.
Take some of the pressure off.
Yeah.
Okay, so what happens once the procedure is done? What about that recovery period and follow-up care?
That's where a lot of people kind of drop the ball, you know? They don't think it through. It's important to have a solid plan for post-treatment, you know, follow-up visits, maybe rehab, medications. And what if something goes wrong once you're back home?
Okay, yeah, that's a bit scary. Should I have a lawyer on speed dial?
Not necessarily, but understanding your rights and options for recourse is important. Different countries have different laws, you know?
That's true.
But hey, let's not get ahead of ourselves. You're still in the research phase, right? What's jumping out at you so far?
Honestly, I'm really impressed with the speed of access. Like, waiting months for a procedure can be agonizing. To be able to get it done quickly and maybe even relax on a beach while recovering, that's pretty powerful.
It is. It's empowering. But like any major decision, you got to weigh those pros and cons. And that's what we're here for, right? To give you the knowledge to make the best choice for your situation.
That's what we do. All right, I'm ready to keep diving into this.
Let's do it. It's like we found this like secret menu of healthcare options.
Right.
But like any good menu, you got to, know what you're ordering.
You got to read the fine print. Absolutely. And thinking about this whole medical tourism thing, it's not just about individuals looking for treatment, right? It has a bigger impact.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It's got these ripple effects.
Absolutely. Our source even mentions how it's kind of shaking things up in those, traditional healthcare systems.
Interesting.
Think about it. Hospitals overseas offering like quality care at a fraction of the cost.
Yeah.
That puts pressure on the systems back home, to compete.
So it's like a wake-up call for them.
Exactly. To step up their game, both in terms of, cost and quality.
Makes sense. Patients now have more options, more choices.
Exactly.
And that can drive some pretty positive change for everyone, theoretically.
It's amazing how these individual decisions can create these like waves of change.
Yes. But let's be real. No system is perfect. Are there downsides to this whole medical tourism boom?
Yeah, of course. There are always complexities. One thing the source points out is the potential for exploitation.
Okay.
You've got patients in unfamiliar territory, maybe vulnerable to scams or, subpar care.
Right.
There have been cases of like inflated prices or hospitals cutting corners.
That's unsettling.
Yeah. It's like being a tourist anywhere, really. You're more likely to get taken advantage of if you don't know the ropes.
Right, if you don't do your homework.
Yeah.
Plus, you've got language barriers, cultural differences, all of that.
Exactly.
That can definitely complicate things. Miscommunication about the diagnosis, the treatment, aftercare. It could snowball pretty quickly.
Absolutely. It's not as simple as hopping on a plane.
Right.
It's about planning carefully, understanding the nuances of the destination, their healthcare system, all of that.
You got to do your due diligence.
And then there's the impact on the local healthcare systems in these, destination countries. If resources are being diverted towards medical tourists.
Oh, yeah. Good point.
It could mean longer wait times for the locals, maybe even shortages for them. It's a balancing act for sure.
Right. So while medical tourism can bring in revenue and even, introduce more advanced healthcare to a region, it needs to be managed carefully, thoughtfully, so it benefits everyone involved.
Absolutely. And then there's the question of follow-up care.
Oh, right.
What happens if you have complications once you're back home?
That's a good question.
Navigating two different medical systems, two legal systems even.
Yeah.
It can be a real nightmare.
So choosing hospitals with a proven track record, clear communication protocol.
Super important.
That seems absolutely crucial.
And having a plan for that potential post-treatment care, even if it means extra costs back home. It's about being informed, proactive.
It's like any major life decision, really. Buying a house, picking a school, you wouldn't do it blindly, right?
Exactly.
Medical tourism needs that same level of, scrutiny.
Absolutely. It's your health, your most valuable asset. It deserves thorough research, careful consideration. What are your thoughts so far? Anything standing out to you?
What's really striking me is how medical tourism could change healthcare as we know it.
Yeah.
It's not just about finding treatment. It's about, pushing for innovation, better access on a global scale.
It's exciting, but also a little daunting, wouldn't you say?
Oh, definitely. It's a lot to wrap your head around. Where do we even begin to picture the future of healthcare with this global element in play?
That's the million-dollar question, right? As technology keeps advancing, healthcare costs keep rising, medical tourism isn't going anywhere. In fact, it's probably going to get even bigger.
So are we heading towards a future where Like, hopping on a plane for procedure is as normal as booking a flight for vacation.
It's definitely possible. You've got telemedicine, virtual consultations already blurring those lines between, domestic and international healthcare.
Right.
It's not just about the physical travel anymore. It's about accessing expertise from anywhere in the world.
So the world is becoming our doctor's office.
In a way, yeah. But with all these advancements, we got to think about the ethical side of things, too.
Of course, yeah.
How do we make sure this doesn't create a system where only the wealthy can get the best care?
Right. That's a huge concern.
It's something policymakers and healthcare providers need to be on top of, addressing it proactively. We need to ensure that everyone has access to quality care, no matter their financial situation, no matter where they live.
It sounds like this whole medical tourism thing is making us rethink healthcare on a fundamental level.
It really is. It's about access, affordability, and ultimately equity.
This is really making me realize that medical tourism isn't just a trend. It's like a catalyst for some major change.
Absolutely. It's a fascinating evolution, and it makes you wonder, what role will each of us play in shaping this future of healthcare? What are your initial thoughts on that?
Wow. Honestly, I'm still processing everything we've talked about. It's definitely exciting to think about the possibilities, but we can't ignore those potential pitfalls either. It feels like we're on the edge of something big, and I'm really curious to see where this all leads.
It really is a fascinating time, isn't it? Healthcare is becoming this whole global landscape, and we're all just trying to figure out how it works.
It's a lot to take in. But with all this talk about going abroad for treatment, what about healthcare here at home? What does this mean for us?
That's the big question, right? And our source actually hints at some pretty interesting possibilities.
Okay, I'm listening.
So medical tourism is putting pressure on, our domestic healthcare systems to adapt. They got to keep up.
It's like we were saying earlier, it's making them compete, both on price and quality.
Exactly. As more and more people choose to go overseas for treatment, local hospitals, clinics, they need to step up their game if they want to stay in the game.
So could this whole medical tourism thing actually be a good thing for our own healthcare system? Like, could it be a catalyst for positive change?
It definitely has that potential, but, it does raise some tough questions, especially when it comes to equity.
Right. I was just thinking about that.
If medical tourism becomes like the norm for people who can afford it, what happens to everyone else?
Well, yeah, what about the people who are left behind?
Exactly. It could create this two-tiered system. The wealthy get faster, better care, while everyone else is stuck with whatever's left.
That's a scary thought. A real have and have-nots situation.
Right. Policymakers, healthcare providers, they really need to be aware of this potential gap and work towards solutions. Everyone deserves access to quality care, no matter their bank account or zip code.
It sounds like medical tourism is forcing us to have these, uncomfortable but really important conversations about the future of healthcare.
It really is. It's pushing us to think beyond borders and those old ways of doing things. We need new approaches to delivering healthcare, to paying for it in this globalized world.
This deep dive has really been eye-opening. It's not just about, finding a cheaper surgery in another country.
Right.
It's about the impact on entire healthcare systems, the ethical questions that come with it. It's a lot bigger than I initially thought.
It really is. It's about individual choices, yeah, but also our collective responsibility.
So as we wrap up this exploration of medical tourism, what's the one thing you want our listeners to remember?
I'd say approach medical tourism with a critical eye, an informed mind. Do your research, weigh those pros and cons, and don't be shy about asking those tough questions. Your health is on the line.
And remember, everyone, this is just the beginning of the conversation. Healthcare is constantly changing, and medical tourism is just one piece of that puzzle.
That's right. Stay curious, stay informed, and keep pushing for a healthcare system that puts accessibility and quality first for everyone.
Absolutely. And on that note, we'll leave you with this. If you could go anywhere in the world for medical care, where would it be and why?
It's a question that goes beyond costs and procedures. It's about values, priorities, and the kind of healthcare future we want to build for ourselves and the world.
Lots to think about.
Yeah.
Until next time, everyone, keep diving deep